So you all are here to see Chris Shank, right? Chris is, how many of you are familiar with Chris's work? Chris is pretty, look at that, huh? Chris is pretty amazing. And I'm not going to read you her bio, but I'm going to tell you, when I met Chris, I heard about this magical place. This magical place called Cockatoo Downs. And that's where Chris does her work, if we can call it work. I think we should, because it's work, and it's not always easy, but it's always rewarding. And Chris is all about positive reinforcement. Chris is a master at positive reinforcement, in both in her life and her interactions with people. Chris is one of those people that there's always that smile and it's always positive. So it's my pleasure. It's true. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you all Chris Shank.
Thank you very much, Robin. My goodness. I should have taped that, and then I can listen to it each night. You can. Oh, that's. I can live up to these words. Okay. Hopefully we can turn some lights down, because I have some videos that you might want to see. Yes. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, this is always the fun part. So I'm going to give you a crash course in clicker training. And everybody has a clicker, and lucky you guys, you get to take it home and use it whenever you want, if you feel the desire. So clicker training is actually just using positive reinforcement with a clicker. The clicker is a marker. It marks the behavior that you want. And we'll discuss that. There you go. So clickers come in. You've got the, whoops. You've got the box clicker. There's a little button clicker. This one's really loud. This one's not so loud. There's electronic clickers. You can use click of your mouth. You don't have to use the clicker. But anything, an unusual sound that's consistent, that is marking the behavior. Get it, everybody out of your system, everybody. There we go. It is funny, and I do it as well. Yeah, that's maybe a little too, I can't see anybody. I do it as well. When I get this in my hand, I can't help but click it. So that's okay. That's fine. That's good, yeah? Thanks, Jane. And we'll discuss more about what this means and all of that. But first I want to show you a little clicker training in action. Now remember, this is marking the behavior that I want the bird to do. And we will discuss how to get to that behavior, how we're going to train that behavior. So don't panic that you really don't understand what I'm talking about yet. This next video that you're going to see is of a couple of birds that I'm working, my birds, and I've trained them already to fly through a hoop to me when I ask them to. And you will see one bird that does it. He will get the click. You will see the second bird doesn't do it, doesn't get the click. The first bird who gets the click gets a treat. The second bird who didn't get the click, you got it, didn't get the treat. So it goes, okay, so here it goes. Whoops. There we go. A couple of little cockatoos. One's a red vent cockatoo, one's a bare-eyed cockatoo. She knows what she's supposed to do, but she goes, well, I didn't do it, and I didn't get the click, so let's give it another try. See if she got the message. Yep, she sure did. So they both get treats, and they are clicks, and they both get treats. So how do we get there? That's what we're going to be talking about. I can figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, let me stop this. So I want you to understand that clicker training goes across all species of animals, including humans. There's actually a group out there that's called Tag Teach, tag training people, and they use it with kids. So kids are learning acrobatics and such. The kids understand that when they do a part of the behavior, that the movement that is good, they get a click. and then later they get a star or, something that will earn them an eventual reward. This eliminates the, no, you did that wrong, you got to do it this way. It eliminates, that's really, really good. It was okay. They either get a click or they don't. And it takes all judgment out of our voices because we don't need to use our voices. And we will use our voices with our animals, and we will use them in a judgmental manner. Believe me, they pick up on that. This is a form of communication with our animals that is always the same, non-judgmental. They hear it no other time other than when you're training them. It's a form of communication they can understand and that we can relay to them. So let's see where I am. So I wanted to show you how it works with a horse as well. And it's my horse. We'll watch this again, just for fun. And using positive reinforcement. Again, they're going to get a treat that they enjoy and that they will work for. In this case, it's pine nuts. That's their favorite treat. They don't get it at any other time other than when I'm training. And that's that. So we're going to move on to the horse, and I'll show you how I use it with my horse, Amber. And what I'm doing is shaping her, and we'll discuss that. I'm shaping her to keep her head low while I put her fly mask on. Now, with horses, using food and horses is a huge no-no because people say they have become muggy. They'll mug you, they'll bite you, they'll push into you. Sure, they'll do that if you don't train your treat delivery correctly. I have trained Amber to be polite about her treat acceptance, and using positive reinforcement with a horse and food and a clicker, it has changed my life dealing with my horse because I used to be a cowboy, cowgirl. You do as I say, you have no choice in the matter, and if you don't do it, the punishment or the aversives escalate, and everybody gets hot under the collar, especially the trainer. With positive reinforcement, you do the behavior that we're shaping and you get your reward. If you don't, if you choose not to do it, if you don't understand what I'm asking you, nothing happens. You don't get a click, you don't get a treat, you don't get yelled at. We just try again. Either try it again or maybe take a different route to the behavior that we want. And to horses, this is huge because we've been taught, these are dangerous animals, they're big, and we have to be the leader. Well, and so we're telling our horses to do everything. They don't have a choice in the matter. And Robin was talking in her presentation about choice and how important that is, not only to us, but to our own animals and to our birds. So with clicker training or positive reinforcement training, if they decide, you know what, lady, I don't understand what you're doing. I don't know what you want. Well, I can say, well, you know what, you're being really stubborn, and I'm going to make you do that. Well, you can't do that, especially with a flighted bird, because they will vote with their wings and off they go. And I have free-flighted birds, so I have to be extra careful with them because they could fly off to the next county. So they make you a good trainer. Okay, enough yakking. Let's look at the video. Now, again, we're going to want her to keep her head low. Her head was low, but this is just the beginning of the behavior. So I want her to get very fluent, make it very easy for her to lower her head when she sees the fly mask. And after I did this video, I watched it and I saw lots of mistakes. So if you're a trainer, really into training, you can pick them out, I'm sure. So here she's not keeping her head low, is she? She keeps raising it up. So I'm simply waiting. And she goes, okay, I'm going to give it another try, and I'm going to hold my head lower, and then she gets the click and the treat. Is this making sense? I hope. Okay, good. So what we're essentially doing is we're training what to do instead of, which we're really good at this, humans are really good at this, we're really good at training what not to do. You know what? I don't want you chewing on my kitchen cabinet, you say to your cockatoo. Get off of there. Okay, he leaves. Fine, he's not chewing on it, but guess what? He's going to go back and do it again. And so you're going to tell him to get off again. Okay, well, what do you want him to do instead? Well, you know what? I'd really like him to sit over here on his playpen and play with his toys. Great, now we can work with that. So we make the playpen or the playpen, the perch, more entertaining to him than chewing on top of the cupboard. Okay? So he gets rewarded for sitting there or playing with toys or foraging with a special goodie that he doesn't normally get. So it's up to us to figure out what we want our animals to do. Okay? It's real easy to say don't do that because that's how we all grow up. That's what our culture is like. It's way easy to stay in that habit and way hard to get into the positive side of it. But it can be done. So positive reinforcement training gives the animal empowerment, as I mentioned. So with Amber, with her head lowering, if she chose not to hang around while I was doing all of this stuff to her, trying to get this mask on, great, she can walk away. That's her choice. I leave her alone, and then we'll try again another time. I have all the time in the world. Using positive reinforcement training with a clicker or however else you want to mark the behavior does, I think, take a little bit more time, takes a lot more thought on our part and how to get the behavior that we want. And in the end, the product that you've got, the animal who does the behavior that you want, is strong, strong, strong. And it comes without a lot of baggage that punishment gives an animal. He's a working, willing partner in your training environment. And it builds a huge trust fund. I mean, what's better than this person giving me treats for when I do this? When I do this, I get a treat, and they will ask you for treats. They will fall back on behaviors that they know just to get you to give them the treats. Here comes that lady with the vending machine, and I'm gonna push the right buttons on that lady, and I know I'm gonna get these treats. It really is a marvelous relationship. A lot of folks say, yeah, but I want my animal to love me. Why do I have to have food? Well, you think about your own families. You feed your families wonderful meals because you love them. And it's reciprocated one way or the other. Force-free, don't use any force. Again, especially with flighted birds, there's no way I can use force with these guys. So I didn't figure it out, but people have figured out another way to work with animals that are flighty, or maybe a prey animal that's used to being, preyed upon and chased and being afraid of the environment. So using force-free gets you every bit as even better results than using punishment or aversives. Attitude changes, not only with the birds, but with yourself. An example, again, I'm going to talk about horses, only because I'm new to clicker training horses. As I said, I was a classical, I'm the leader type thing. So with my horse, I'm discovering this whole other realm that I was always doing with my birds, but I never transferred it to my horse. I would go to clinics where they taught natural horsemanship, which is merely using pressure and release, negative reinforcement. They were using an aversive to get the animal to do the behavior that the person wanted. So this woman was in the clinic with all of the other attendees with their horses, and she was having this lovely quarter horse, just this mellow quarter horse guy. And she was on the ground, and she wanted him to go around in a circle, just a small circle, and walk at the same time. So she's using her, I don't know if anybody's familiar with natural horsemanship training out there. And so she has this whip with a kind of a plastic bag on it, and she's using that as an aversive or a prompt to get the animal to move. And the horse is moving, everything's going fine. The horse slows down. She pops him on the butt. He goes a couple more times. He slows down again. she pops him harder and more frequently. And all of a sudden, before you know it, she's turning red in the face, her grimace. She's not having a good time. And certainly the horse is not having a good time because he's not being told what to do. He's being told what not to do, and that's to slow down. You are not to slow down. Well, what do you want me to do instead? Oh, run around in circles? Okay, but what's in it for me? You know, I guess not what's in it for me. If I keep doing this, I don't get popped on the butt. So attitude, using positive reinforcement, really changes our outlook on how we relate to our animals and to each other. Labels, this horse or this bird will not step up. He's stubborn. This bird is so stubborn, I have to really push my hand into his chest for him to step up. Such a stubborn bird. Phooey, you can just stay in your cage. So that's what labels do. They limit what our birds are capable of because we go, oh, that bird's aggressive. He's going to bite me, so you can stay in the cage too. Well, they're not. They only are showing aggressive behavior because of whatever the environment is indicating him how to behave. So when we take those labels away, we open up this whole animal that we can tap into. Does that make any sense? Okay. Finally, with positive reinforcement training, and especially using this clicker, for me anyway, we really focus on the specific behavior that we want. And we really watch their body language, and we watch for that little movement that we might want and catch it with a clicker and then feed the animal. So with Amber, I was watching her to hold her head lower and lower and finally steady. And it's just little incremental baby steps, but we reach it. And this really helps me anyway focus in on what I'm going to click. The next video I'd like to show you is of my friend Julie. She's a horse person, and she comes out to visit because she has her horse at my property, and she was really interested in the birds. She's not a bird person. She's never had a parrot, but she was fascinated with the cockatoos and watching them fly, and she said, I said, well, would you like to help? Would you like to train them? I'd be happy to help you. And she said, yeah. So she, of course, started with the clicker or with positive reinforcement training, because that's what I do, and she really got into it. Not only that, this is like the video you're going to see is her third or fourth time working with the birds. So she doesn't know how to set birds up for success. She doesn't know about flying that much. So you will see here before I start it, these are little parent-raised birds, by the way. These are not hand-raised, so they're not really people-focused. However, these babies, they're 4 or 5 years old now, they are people-focused because they've been trained using positive reinforcement treats and a clicker. So they know people mean good things. So here's one baby. He's still engaged. She's been working the birds for about 15 minutes, and he's the last one. He says, I still want to work. Really, really windy. We're outside in the aviary. A crummy day to train because it's hard for them to fly. But they were really engaged, so let's keep doing it. You can see the wind's blowing that way. His little crest is bent that way. I'm only showing you this to show the involvement that positive reinforcement training motivates with our birds or with any animal. So this is very difficult. She's going to ask him to fly to that perch right next to her. So he's going to have to fly with the wind, turn his body, and land on the perch. And I didn't, I finally said, that's kind of hard for him to do, but watch what happens.
That's awfully hard to do, lady. Fly sideways in the wind.
So he figured it out. He said, if I fly over there,
Isn't that cool?
and look at her reaction. I mean, everybody's having a good time, right? Yeah. So what that shows me is an animal who's thinking. He's thinking, how am I going to figure this out? If you're using punishment or force, you shut down all thinking in these animals. Well, not all thinking, but they certainly aren't going to figure out how to fly to this perch to get over there. They're going to say, screw it, I'm not even going to do it in most cases. So I just want you to get that perspective. So the clicker, here we are with the clicker. It's a marker of what we want. It's an acoustical arrow. I like to think of it as a camera that you're taking a picture of the behavior that you want. And it's a clear and consistent communication, which I've already talked about. It's the only sound you hear other than during training. Clear communication. Okay, so the click is paired with a reinforcer. This happens primarily before you start training. Well, you are training in a way, but you're going to train the bird to understand that this is a reinforcer, or it means that the treat that he really wants is on its way. So in other words, if I were to train my bird to fly through a hoop, as soon as she flew through the hoop, I can't be going over there and running, and here as she flies through the hoop, she gets the treat. So, okay, I guess I'm supposed to fly through the hoop, and in the middle of the flight. Obviously, that's impossible. So she has learned that when she hears this click, she gets a treat. And when I hear the click doing a certain thing, then I get, if I repeat that certain thing and still get a click, then yes, that's what she wants me to do. So as she flies through the hoop, click, and she comes over to me and I give her a treat. So that gives me 3 to 5 seconds to get the treat to her. I don't have to scramble over when she does the behavior exactly right. Make sense? Any questions, please raise your hand, because this is really a crash course. Click means good things are coming. Does it always have to be food? No, it can be a switch in the head. It can be access to a favorite toy. It can be anything that the bird likes, okay? So that only, by the way, pairing this with a reinforce or a food item takes about a minute because the birds figure it out real fast what this means. So I like to look at it this way. There's 2 sides to this click. What happens before the click, which is the behavior, is what the trainer wants to increase. I want that bird to fly through that hoop. I want that to increase. What happens after the click, which is the treat, it's what the parrot wants to increase. So, okay, lady, you mean the more I fly through this, the more treats I get? I go, yep. And so the click kind of unites those 2 desires. And so it's a constant exchange of what each of us wants. And everybody's happy. And I sound like, a preacher up here. I mean, it's really true. It changes everybody's attitude. And it gives us also an insight to how well these birds can think on their own and figure things out. Just as you saw that little Corella fly from one perch to the other so he could get over to where he was supposed to go. He figured that all out. So that's pretty cool. Using a clicker, for me, as I already mentioned, focuses my eyes on this bird. And of course, he's watching me the whole time. So I really pay attention to body language. And we can see what this little guy up there, that's Patch. We can see what Patch is showing us right now through body language. That's pretty darn apparent, right? It says, hey, lady, you don't belong on this patch of grass, so get out of here. This is Patch's little son, again, parent raised. He's tame, but very leery of me, and so I'm paying attention to that body language. And then I have little Rebby down here, little red-beaked cockatoo, who is out in the environment, and he has no interest in me whatsoever. He's looking around at his environment, checking it out. So, I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to train this guy. Maybe I might train the little boy. I don't know, we'll see. Rebby, I'm not even going to try, even though this is really positive, but the environment has a lot to do with this success that you have. So I'm not going to train him until he's paying attention. And again, this is all wrapped up in looking at your bird and looking at their body language. We already discussed this, the reinforcement. We don't need to do it again. Okay, this can be the big bugaboo when people want to use a clicker. And so now I really like, personally, I'm used to using it, but it takes up a whole hand, right? So you're going to go, ugh. So you kind of have to get coordinated using it, or coordination, practice. Again, you can use your mouth, or you can use a whistle if you want to use a whistle and hold it in your mouth. It doesn't have to be this clicker, but I would really like it to be a sound that's very consistent all the time. Okay? And many trainers don't use clickers or markers at all. Barbara is one of them. She's an excellent trainer, and many times I don't either. But it might be good for you to look into this and see what you can accomplish using a clicker. So your timing is very important. You get what you click. Okay? So when they know that this means good things and they're getting clicked for chewing on the cabinet, oh, well, then you want me to do this some more? Because that's what you're going to get. It's not irreparable. You can fix it. With positive reinforcement training, everything is fixable. Quiet food hand. So in other words, if I don't have them now, I feel very naked, but I usually have a pocket full of treats in both pockets. And so when I'm training, this hand stays here, click, reach in, and treat. It's not, this has to be separate, but they will start focusing in on your hand, and you may be inadvertently marking the wrong behavior if you're moving your hand. You don't say it. So again, practice. I don't expect you to get this right this moment because it does take some doing practice. Okay, we're going to do a real quick audience timing just for fun. So when I raise my hand and I put up 5 fingers, can you all see my hand? Okay, I want you to click, okay? All right, ready? I know you can do it. Ready? Here we go. And this is where the focus comes in. And this is when you use this, it will get easier and easier and easier, okay? I love these clickers because you click it, ooh, and then you have to let go. Oh! So you don't get a break, I'm afraid. Sorry. Okay, ready? Good. Good, guys. Good job. You're well on your way. Yay. All right. So that was great. And as again, you can tell you guys are really focusing, so that's good. Treat presentation. You can use your hand. You can use a cup, spoon, surface. Always click the treat. This is a contract, okay? You hear the animal hears this. I am obligated to pay that paycheck. If you don't click when you make mistake, if you don't feed when you click and you've made a mistake, after a while this becomes useless. It means nothing because he's going, well, I don't know. You may give me something or you may not, so I'm not even going to pay any attention to it. We'll go on a little bit further here. So who to train? Young or old, grumpy or happy, shy or bold, wild or tame. The grumpy part can be a problem because you don't maybe want to work the bird in the cage, but he may be territorial and he may take your finger off when you present the treat. You can use a spoon, you can drop it in his cup, like the previous slide said. And working with animals that are showing aggressive behavior, I remember Barbara has